Hey, what's up? This is Antonio. Welcome back to my channel, Who's Ready for Some Fighting Words. In this video, I want to talk about missed opportunity, and this includes Canelo Alvarez, Jermell Charlo, Terence Crawford, and Errol Spence. Really quick, if you like the videos, please take the time to subscribe to the channel. Just hit one click to subscribe and one click to like. Let's jump into this. So why am I calling this missed opportunity? Well, because Canelo said after the fight, after just playing with Jermell Charlo and kind of smacking him around a little bit, not really trying to get him out of there, but just smacking him around a little bit. He just said that, Jermell didn't really have any power. He couldn't hurt him. He wasn't doing anything. And when the mention of Terence Crawford, Canelo's like, I just said Jermell Charlo don't have any power. He fights at 154 pounds. Terence Crawford fights at 147 pounds. He came up from, 40? What is he going to do? It doesn't make any sense. It doesn't make any sense. And the reality is Canelo can fight anybody. Canelo can fight that fighting word sign right there. And he can still make $50 million. We would still go watch him beat up the fighting word sign. Okay? So it doesn't really matter who he's fighting, but this is just missed opportunity. This is why I'm saying it's missed opportunity. If Jermell Charlo would have put on a strong enough showing for himself, it could have led into a rematch, because Canelo Alvarez is big on that. If you beat him, or the overall perception is that he lost, or it was a mismatch or something like that, he would want to run it back. In which case, Jermell Charlo could have had the rematch. Cool. Now, Spence and Crawford would have done their rematch by then. Cool. Well, we all know that Spence can draw a crowd. And we all know that Spence is a pretty big boy, like naturally. I mean, Spence could easily fight at 160 right now, no problem. For the last 5 years, he could have fought at 160 pounds, no problem. So, okay, that fight's there. And especially with his following in Texas, Canelo's Mexican, are you kidding me? That's a lot of money. So that fight is there, but it's not convincing because Crawford beat Spence. Crawford beat Spence from pillar to post. So it's not convincing. You have that. But if they rematch 154 pounds, Spence shows a different showing of himself, then it's like, maybe there's something to this. And do the fans want to see this? That's the argument. But again, Jermell Charlo is the one who dropped the ball for everybody. I guess you can throw Jermell Charlo in there as well if you want, because he was saying the whole time, I'm going to fight Canelo, I'm going to fight Canelo. Even though Canelo was saying the whole time, I never said that, so I don't know how he got that. But if the smaller Charlo would have made a strong enough showing for himself, yeah, for the storyline and the overall storyline, it makes more sense. Listen, I have a twin brother who's bigger than me, and he's undefeated. So if I gave you a good test and a good showing, imagine what he can do to you. That's an argument. So yeah, I can see that happening. Then you would have the winner of Spence and Crawford. Because if it happens at 154 pounds, well, this 154 pounder gave me a running and a good run for my money. So quite possibly, these 154 pound fighters could do the same thing. Spence or Crawford. Okay, and they're considered, top-notch fighters as well. Crawford's like pound for pound right now, so okay, even more. We know that Crawford can draw, well, right now, Crawford's riding high, and we always knew that Spence could draw a crowd. So you're just talking about people who can move the needle. Now, typically, Canelo fights people where he just moves the needle, but imagine if him and Spence, let's just throw a magical scenario. Spence, Crawford fight at 154 pounds. Spence demolishes Crawford. I mean, he does to Crawford what Crawford did to him. And then he says, I want Canelo. Well, that's an argument. Okay, because this last 154 pounder, Jermell Charlo, he didn't win, but he really made a case for himself in this ring, so much so that I had to do a rematch. So yeah, that makes sense. Cool. And you draw a big crowd. And your crowd just happens to be Texas. So absolutely, you know what? I'm game for that fight. That's what Canelo would probably say. It makes good business sense. Okay. Then you factor in Big Charlo. Well, I'm his brother. I believe he would beat him in a fight. I could probably beat him in a fight. And I'm bigger than him, and I'm undefeated. So if he gave you a problem, imagine what I would do, because he's 154 pounds. I fight at 160. That's an even more compelling argument. And it plays to the narrative and the story. You fought one brother, and the other brother, the other twin, is going to come and avenge his brother's loss. That plays to the story. So that's easy. That could easily be marketed, and I would buy it, because who wouldn't buy it? You know what I'm saying? So I would buy that. And then you would have, maybe Crawford pops up. His stock is still high. Maybe he could do it. I'm just saying there's different ways where this could have played out, where all these guys could have, eaten through this situation. But because Jermell Charlo didn't show any showing, he didn't show half the heart that, he said he had. Unfortunately, all of these fights don't exist. All of these fights will not exist. Canelo will be moving on. Canelo will be trying to probably push that Bivol fight. I don't know why he wants to fight Bivol again. Bless his heart for wanting to go after Bivol. I personally think that's a very bad move. And I think if they were to fight again, Bivol would probably put him through that ring. So I don't think it's a good move. And he can't move up anymore because you have Arthur Petreviev there, and that's just not a good move, because he'll destroy Canelo probably maybe within 4 rounds. So that's not a good move. Now, who does that leave? Well, you have the winner of Demetrius Andrade, and you have David Benavidez. That's who you have. I personally think David Benavidez would beat Canelo. And I'm not just saying like he'd win. I think he would beat Canelo. I think he would beat Canelo up, because the Charlo fight has shown it again. And I've been saying this for about 2 years now. People get in there and they get kind of starstruck when it comes to Canelo. It's like, it's really him. Who cares? Who cares? Like, get in there, do what you got to do. Who cares? And, Charlo was no different. The only thing, like, everybody was like, oh, you said Charlo was going to win. Yes, but I was banking solely on his personality, banking solely on his mentality. I was banking also on his athleticism, and his punch output. But I was banking a whole lot on his mentality. He wouldn't care that Canelo was across the ring from him. He wouldn't care if, Canelo got a good shot on him, because he's the type of guy, if you hit him, he's going to immediately want to hit you back. He's going to get angry in there. So that was what I was banking on. But when I look at David Benavidez, that's who he is. That's who he is. I think he's faster than Canelo. I think he's bigger than Canelo. I think he puts his hands together way better than Canelo. I think he has long arms. I think he's tall. I think he's solid, because he could easily go up to heavyweight if he wanted to. So there's a strong argument that I can make for David Benavidez. So the question, well, not really the question, the dilemma is the circle is broken. There is no more circle. No more circle. Circle's over with. No more Canelo versus Charlo, big or small. No more Canelo versus Errol Spence. No more Canelo versus Bud Crawford. That is over with. Logically, it just doesn't make sense, because it's not believable. But more importantly, it's not believable to Canelo. I just smacked around a 154-pounder. What in the world am I going to do? I might take the life of a 147-pounder. Like that might be a real caution right there. So, and I heard a few people saying, well, Clarissa Shields, she was like, well, Terence Bud Crawford, he thinks different. She mentioned he's like a computer. And I do agree with that. And I think he would do the one thing that Charlo didn't do, was compute in the moment, like what's worth it and what's not worth it, what punches to use, and when to move. For some reason, Charlo was very stationary in the fight. Couldn't figure that out. But it is what it is. That's the circle. The circle is broken. There is no more circle. So Canelo's going to move on, and that's that. There was a possibility of this thing of rematches and, just these mega fights. And now these potential mega fights, they're gone. They're gone. There's not going to be a Canelo and Bud. There's no sense in it. I don't believe it. I do think Bud Crawford would have a better showing with Canelo than Jermell Charlo. I think, that him switching stances could give Canelo problems. I think his speed could give Canelo problems. I don't think he's going to hit hard enough to do anything to Canelo. But the thing with Bud is, I never thought that he was the hardest puncher in the world. I just think he has impeccable timing. And I don't care who it is, if they don't see the punch coming, it can affect them. You know, especially a sequence of punches they don't see coming, that could affect them. But those are my thoughts. What do you think about the circle being broken? What do you think about, Canelo says he doesn't want an Errol Spence fight or a Terence Bud Crawford fight? What do you think about that? Drop your thoughts down below. I'd love to hear what you have to say. And as always, please like, please share, please subscribe to this channel.